Ready to... Oh, it's going. Hannah, please recap the story you just told me about your dog. I'm fascinated.
Okay. So Caroline was saying how hot it is in Texas.
I mean, it's not hot. It's just going to hit 80 degrees tomorrow.
Okay, well, that's hot.
Rude for January.
It's very rude. I was saying that it's like, what? It was 34 degrees yesterday, and it was like a heat wave for me. And so somehow, oh yeah, she was like, I like snow. And I was like, yeah, same. I do like snow, but we have like an ungodly amount of snow right now. And we have to like plow our grass in like a square for where our dog has to go to the bathroom, because like last year she was very picky about snow. She hated it. She did not like it. Today she put on her snowshoes and is apparently like, I don't know, she loves snow now. And instead of like going in the nice plowed out area, she climbs the snow hills. Like our snow is probably like 4 feet deep at this point. Because it just like all blows. It's been very windy. And so she'll like traverse all the way up that hill, poop right there. And then like she'll just like stand there she's like claiming her territory, and I can like see it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's like king of the hill. I can see her out my window just like standing. She looks like a giant because she's
surveying
like
her kingdom.
Yes. And she's like super
everything
tall.
The light touches.
My dad held her like Simba when she was a puppy, and it was the cutest fucking thing. She was not into it. But she looks so grumpy in that photo, but I cherish it.
Fascinating.
I know. The life of a dog.
Would love to get into the psychology of that.
The Gertrude, she's a Gertrude. That's a Gertrude moment, because like Gertie is her good name. Like, she's a nice little puppy. And then like Gert, she's being a hellion. Gertrude, she's just being unreasonable. My mom refuses to call her Trudy, so I feel like that we can't call her Trudy, but I'll like throw Trudy in there. But yeah, so that's the saga.
Isn't that the name of the cat in A Brush with Love? She has like a Maine Coon, and it's enormous, and it's a whole thing because the hero comes in and like tackles her into, I think he like throws them into a closet because he thinks there's like a wild cat in her apartment, and it's a Maine Coon, so it's just a giant cat.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure the cat's name is Big Booty. No, it's Judy, not Trudy. Big Booty.
You're right.
Judy.
Yep. There's I think there's like a cow in a historical romance, the same Gertrude. Like I think she wanders off, maybe in like a Tessa Dare.
Incredible. Well, the male version, Gerald,
the
swan, which
he's coming up.
Well, he's coming up. One of my new favorite historical romance animals. Oh, that's an episode.
Yes.
Animals in historical romance.
I have been taking notes because like we started doing like the kid thing, and then I was like, well, a kid is a baby goat, so then I was like baby goat, and then Tessa Dare loves baby goats, and I went down a rabbit hole.
There's baby goats in The Last Bethany Bennett.
Ooh, I haven't got better. I started reading that, and then it was a physical book, and then we know what happens with that. I just don't finish them, so I have to read it. It was very good from what I read.
Well, there's a pregnant goat, and then she has 2 babies, and the babies are running around with nappies, I think made out of like old curtains, and they're like hopping in and out of the windows of the house.
Oh,
just running around causing chaos.
To talk about a book that I did read over break, because this is TBR Tuesday, and we're romance.
Yeah, welcome to.
If you didn't know,
I'm Caroline.
I'm Hannah. It's been a month, but like we're still the same. We have made no improvements.
New year, same us.
Yeah,
no
apology.
apology.
Exactly. So to only talk briefly about this Tessa Dare book, because it's from HarperCollins, and they're still on strike because HarperCollins refuses to bargain with their union, and it's quite frustrating. So this isn't a review. It's just a note that there is a very pregnant goat in Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare, but like the heroine, because she has all these animals, she refuses to like believe that it's pregnant. She's like, my goat isn't promiscuous, and the hero is like, I'm pretty sure your goat is very pregnant, and she's like, no, it's fine. And then at the end, like there's a whole goat birthing scene where it's the 2 heroes from the previous books and then the hero from this book, and he has to like go elbow deep in this goat. It's beautiful. I love that book. But yeah,
You
that
know, sometimes your hero just has to go elbow deep in a goat, and that is the beauty of romance.
exactly. And I mean, that was one of the first Tessa Dare books I read, and I was not disappointed.
Sometimes you're elbow deep in a goat. Sometimes you're
Yes.
standing on a table screaming because of a baby hedgehog. I just read that book. Sometimes you're confessing your love for your childhood best friend while you're in a snowstorm trying to help the cat give birth to kittens, which
That
is
is
not a historical romance, but it is a delightful novella from Talia Hibbert
ugh,
that I think we already talked about.
yeah,
Wrapped
wrapped
Up
up in you. Yeah. So good.
So good.
So good.
You
Ugh.
want to make a scene iconic? Have an animal giving birth in the middle of it.
It's truly the best because it brings out your true colors. Like it, any
That's so
kind of
true.
birthing scene, really. Like we've talked about. Was it
Westcliff.
Westcliff in
Westcliff while Lillian is giving birth in
Scandal
the
in Spring?
Mhm.
He's just absolutely unhinged, like
Mhm.
threatening murder to anyone who doesn't help this baby get into the world. And I mean, honestly, it's like amped up like tenfold because it's animals. Because like no one wants to see an animal suffer.
Mhm.
Honestly, like
When you
that hurts
started
the
that
most.
sentence, I thought you were gonna say no one wants to see an animal give birth, and I was like, well, I feel like some people do.
That's not on brand.
So it depends on the animal and the situation. I mean,
I
not that
mean,
you want to see it, but
if
like,
if my, hero who's been helping me rehome all of these animals for an entire book, like if there's an animal giving birth and he's next to it, I will get out my binoculars, okay? I will I will be so attentive. I will
I
look
don't
at
want to be
everything.
that up in those fluids.
Yeah, he was very up in them. But then he made the baby goat his. He was like, Percy's mine. I think his name is Percy. He's like, he's mine. You're not
Adorable.
getting rid of this animal. And it was so fucking cute.
I do
He
love
is
heroes
ugh,
with animals. We're gonna
he's
have
so
to
good.
say it because now I'm thinking about the
Yes.
hedgehog scene in a
Yes.
perfect equation, which
Yes.
is also coming up
Ugh,
that series. So
yes.
we don't need to talk too much about it. But
I love that book. So I'm going to reread the entire series, but like that book, we know it's my favorite of the series, but like that hedgehog is named like Fermat from like the math
mhm.
like professor, like whatever his name is, philosopher. I don't know. I'm not a math person, but when the hero like looks at that hedgehog, oh my god,
I was.
I ugh,
It's the way that it's it's like the dad effect of animals. Like my
mm-hmm.
dad was like, he's the typical like I don't like animals. I
Yeah,
don't want pets. We
yep,
got the pets, but like they were gonna be outside.
yep,
And he doesn't like cats. Dry food only because wet cat food is disgusting. And now like he's like he loves the cat. He's the
mm-hmm.
one who feeds the animals. He gets him like special cat food and goes out and gives it to him. And he's like, oh, he really likes that one. And he makes sure to give everybody treats whenever he gives them
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't like other these are special because this is a
Yes.
cool cat. And it was that energy of him being like, oh, what is that? A hedgehog? And then as soon as he saw it, he was like, its nose is shaped like a heart. I
He's so
think he
fascinating.
likes me. Like, give it more food. I think he's hungry. Like, obsessed with this hedgehog.
I
That's my favorite bit.
I think I compared him to Cary Grant. There's like just his like true like wonder and just like everything revolving around the hedgehog. And then also when he realized he was in love, he was just like, wow, everything is beautiful, and he was acting like a little kid. But the hedgehog scene, there's a few other books with hedgehogs. I feel like I'm not gonna remember them. I make notes because I always want to reference the hedgehogs, and then now I've forgotten them all.
I know
But
there are other ones. There's one
mhm.
coming up that I don't know if it's been announced, so I can't or like I don't know how much information about
Yeah,
it is public. But more information should be coming very soon.
we'll just have a whole
Um,
hedgehog episode. It'll be
I would love
exclusive.
hedgehogs are like one of my favorite animals ever. They're my
They're
mom's
so
absolute
cute.
favorite animal, so she collects like little hedgehog things.
Aw.
She's got a bazillion like little statues and stuffed animals and patterned things with hedgehogs on them. So we love hedgehogs in this house. They're so cute. I would never have one.
Yeah.
They're messy and nocturnal and kind of gross.
Yeah, well, I heard that they like when they run on their wheel, they poop. Like I heard that
Yeah.
that's a thing that they do, and
Yeah, they
like
poop
that,
a lot. It's
yeah.
gross.
And to me, that's gonna be a no because I had hamsters growing up, and even that, like I love them, they're adorable. But the poop was it was a
Yeah.
lot.
We always said if we
This
got
one.
hedgehogs, we would have a garden, like a walled
Oh
garden
my
where
god, that's
it's like a
adorable.
stone wall that like
Yeah.
goes kind of deep into the ground because hedgehogs can dig. And then just like have hedgehogs that we keep out in the garden because then it's like they're
That's so
outside, they can
cute.
do their
Yeah,
thing.
they can poop
And
wherever they
also
want
little
on snow
garden
hills.
hedgehogs.
Yeah,
What?
that is the dream.
That is the
That's
dream.
the
That's
dream.
big Beatrice Potter energy is really who I want to be in my life. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
She wrote the like Peter Rabbit and all of
Oh,
those.
really?
Yeah,
I did not know Beatrice Potter wrote that.
Beatrice.
Oh,
I think it's Beatrix actually. Because I was
Beatrix. Wow.
I think it's Beatrix Potter. We loved her growing up, but she wrote Peter Rabbit and all of the other
Mm-hmm.
little animal Miss Tiggy Winkle,
Mystique.
Jemima Puddle Duck, all of those. Oh, I'm intimately familiar with the world of Beatrix Potter. Um, but in the like TV show, they were animated, but they would always open and close with the actress that's supposed to, I guess, be Beatrix Potter, and she would always be like out watercoloring, and she had like a little rabbit, and like the animals would all like hang out with her, and that's just who I want to be in my life. I just want little woodland creatures
Honestly.
all
And
around
like
me.
just the visual of a little like fairy garden with like hedgehogs just like
Yeah,
being the like, kings of the land. Like I just kind
I
of
just want to
obsessed with
live
that.
there. Just hang out in the garden with your little hedgehogs. Dream.
That
We
really
are
is.
many minutes in, and
It's
we haven't started talking about the books.
many moons. We've talked about some books,
Well,
okay?
that's true. We
We
have
have
been
had
talking
some
about
bookish
books.
conversation.
This is
And
true.
honestly, we did a great job in incorporating them into our random tangents.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is true. So welcome to TBR Tuesday.
We shan't dally because we've read a lot of books because
We
it's been a
shan't dally.
month.
We already dallied.
We shan't
Welcome to
dally anymore.
TBR Tuesday Best of Break.
Oh
Here are the
god,
things we
yeah.
recommend that we read over
Oh,
break, minus some
there
HarperCollins titles.
yes. I'll mention the titles because I don't want to hurt the authors anymore. I feel very bad for the authors, but like we won't go in depth.
Yes. Well, I
Like
haven't
reviews
read
or
any.
whatever.
So if
Oh
you want to just
wow.
like, I have not. Yeah. Well, it's not. I don't want to like boycott
Yeah.
because again, supporting the authors,
Yeah.
but I also like I can't not talk
It's
about books that I read, and I
it's
know
very
that about
hard.
myself, so I've
Mhm.
intentionally avoided them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing in December because most of it was Christmas stuff, and I only read a few that were HarperCollins, and none of them were very good. Maybe there was like one or two
mm,
like novellas and stuff, but like I was just like I want to post like reading trackers, so I was getting very stressed about like what I could post and what I couldn't post, and then it was just easier to read indie and like other things. Which this has been a very good opportunity for me to like delve further into like indie backlists and stuff. Um, but in January, I was like, okay, I can't because it seems like the strike is gonna just keep going. I've heard
mhm,
that the owner of HarperCollins or like
the CEO.
the as high as you can go, he has a history of breaking strikes and like not bargaining. So I have no faith that this is going to be a short process, but I do know the people of the union are not going to fold. So we stand in solidarity, but I was like, I need to find a way to at least like track these books because it was like stressing me out. So like I made the little HarperCollins like union sticker and then put them over. Because
Mhm,
I didn't like not tracking the books, but then I was like caught in that like what can we do? There aren't a lot of rules and I love rules. And so it's been a time trying to
mhm.
figure things out. And we previously thought that Harlequin was part of the union. It is not.
Yeah, which nobody
So we can talk about
like talked about until very recently when
yeah.
that information was shared with us, which we were like,
I
oh,
was like
that would have been
very
so helpful to
useful.
know before now.
Yes.
Anyway, do you want to just list the HarperCollins titles that you read and recommend over break?
Yes,
Just
that's a great idea. Okay, we're gonna just start somewhere. Okay, so I already mentioned some novellas that I read. There were just a lot. Like there was a Lorraine Heath novella, Deck the Halls with Love, that was good. Tessa Dare's Spindle Code novellas, I always like. Especially Lord Dashwood, Missed Out, Virgin Hero, marvelous. Like I said, oh yeah, Lady Meets Earl by Christy Carlyle. That cover is gorgeous. It's one of my favorite covers ever. And that one was very good. That's like all for that year. And then what else have I read? I read the Truly Devious series. via audiobook at the beginning of 2023. And then I I mentioned the Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare, so I read that. It was just a reread. Someone had posted like a sex scene on Bookstagram, and I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna go reread that." So I did. And then I just went on a slightly unhinged Lorraine Heath journey.
It's alarming to see.
Yes, it
In a
quite
good way.
is.
I salute you.
Thank you. It was not healthy because Lorraine gets me in my feels, and then I just want to like curl up into a ball. I read The Scandalous Gentleman of St. James, which is like related to her other series, which is the Scoundrels of St. James, which are like the parent figures. So it was actually useful to read the children first because then you could like see how the children grew up in the first, like the pre-series. But most of those books were all very good. I cried at every epilogue, which was embarrassing. Yeah. But they're all pretty solid. And then what else did I do? I read Someone to Watch Over Me, which was a reread by Lisa Kleypas. Still very good. Still, wildly not problematic. Like I understand if you don't like it. If you're listening, you're like, I hate that book so much. I understand. Selfishly, I'm happy I like it. But there we are. And I think that was like the last. And then I currently just read where's my Libby? What are these called? The Scot Who Loved Me by Gina Conkle. And then I'm going to read the next one in that series, which is A Scot Is Not Enough. And I've heard very good things about that one. And I own it. So I'm like tracking ones that are coming off of my physical TBR, like my own shelf, because I have so many.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing and stressful. But those are all the HarperCollins ones that I would recommend and have read. And yeah, there we have it. And bet.
On to the ones we can talk about.
Do we want to start with our horny winter ghost?
Yeah, well, so there's nothing else in December. I read a whole lot of Holly Black at the end of December after we recorded our Christmas episode. That was the majority of my second half of the month, was just reading and rereading Holly Black books.
I didn't realize she had that many books.
Oh, well, she's also got a ton of other, like, unrelated series that I haven't even touched those. There's, like, I think she wrote the Spiderwick Chronicles. Like,
what? Oh, shit, yeah.
There's a ton of other books. I have not read all of those. So I read the Modern Fairytales, which is 3 books, which I had not read before. So I read those for the first time. Then I reread The Darkest Part of the Forest, which is also connected to that same universe. They're all connected to the same universe, so characters from all of them will show up in each other's books. The Darkest Part of the Forest, The Folk of the Air, including the novella that's in there, like between 1 and 2, How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, and then The Stolen Heir, which just came back and I loved very much. Which you shouldn't read for the romance. If you're going in thinking these books are about romance, they're not. However, the romance is my favorite part.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I read the main 3 like of that series like in 2020, I think, because my friend loves it. And honestly, I was solely there for the romance, but then I like stayed for like whatever the fuck was happening.
I think Holly Black does some of the best character work.
Yes.
Like ever. Jude is, and Carden, who's not even a main character, but is still so incredibly well developed. I'm obsessed with her like world and her writing and her characters, who are just like actually morally gray. Like, I think that's a word that gets thrown around a lot, and people don't necessarily always use it well or correctly, but like those are actually morally gray characters. Jude is selfish and she is manipulative and she's doing what she needs to like gain power and hold on to it. And I respect the hell out of that. I'm obsessed with that series. It actually only got better as I reread. Yes. And The Stolen Heir is very good as well.
I still remember my first reaction of that 3rd book when something pivotal happens, and I was like, what the hell is happening?
Feral. I feel feral thinking about it. Anyway, so I read a whole bunch of those at the end of the year. Also, The Gilded Wolves. I finally finished. I had read the first 2, and I finally finished the 3rd one. So, like, it was a fantasy heavy, randomly. end of the
Nice.
month. So the only book from December that I haven't already talked about that I want to talk about, this was very long-winded way of getting here, is the Horny Ghost
It's
book.
funny. Oh, the Horny Ghost book. This book came to me in a dream. Just kidding. I was scrolling through Bookstagram, and I saw a post of someone. They had a picture of Making Merry by Kerrigan Byrne. It also has a different title, and I think they had used that one, so I had to like scour to figure out what was happening. But they had like in their post, they hadn't read it yet either, but they talked about how he was a ghost and from like a century or so before, and then she comes to the Travel Inn where he haunts. And I was like, you know what? This sounds like everything I need at this moment in time. Like,
If there's one thing we know about us,
nothing gets us
nothing
going.
gets us going like a ghost.
Truly nothing. And so it was on Kindle Unlimited. I sat down and proceeded to have the best hour of my life. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then I read all of that series. Like, I read all of Kerrigan Byrne's like one series on Kindle Unlimited, which was a very good time. Because of that book. I was like, I need to see like what's happening with these horny ghosts. And then there's a prequel that happens because like basically he dies in a battle at some point in time, and at that point his brother then becomes heir because he was the heir. And then there's a whole novella about the brother having to like go get his body. I sobbed. Okay, I read the ghost one first, and I was having a very like hot and like hungry time, and then to go back and reread what it's Kathryn LeVeque. What is the title of Goodreads? Can load for me. But like the way I stopped, because like you knew the brother was going to be dead, but then you also knew that he was going to come back as a ghost and then have his whole little life. But like the brother didn't know that. It was a whole thing. The Earl in Winter is what that one's called. Yeah, that was a time, because then he like has a whole thing and whatever. And then knowing that, you jump ahead like a century or so with now our ghost who's been haunting the same tavern, like I don't know, inn situation. Yeah. And then that's where you pick up. And
well, he's just so horny, and he just is so into this woman, and she's like, you know what, why not? They can't touch, so it's just like really horny pining for most of it, and then Deus Ex Machina they can for a while. So it does get real horny. There's ghost face sitting because
I forgot about
why not?
that.
I can't forget. It's burned into my brain. I will say the ending, it's a little convoluted. Like it is kind of just like, and here's how everything works out. Happy ending. And you're like, this, I don't really understand how this works, but I'm gonna go with it because I want to be happy.
Exactly. It was I had to kind of reread because like you kind of knew something because there was like mention of a character and you were like, what?
Yeah, you're putting dots together. Does it actually make sense? No.
I'm like, if all the characters are happy, if everyone's good, I'm good because I want to be good. But truly, like it was just like me realizing that there was actually going to be like a horny ghost and not just like a ghost who has urges, but like nothing happens. I was so happy because you never know what's going to happen.
You never know.
But no, this one and the series is called Good Girls, so Goode because they're the goods. But it's made for me, honestly. It was just so good, and it was very short. It was only like 70 or so pages, right? I think.
Yeah, it was long.
So I would recommend if
it's also technically a Christmas book, I want to say.
Yes. Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. It's just like kind of wintry.
And the cover is wintry, and it's still currently winter. Well, Texas may be like
it is technically
hot
winter,
mama,
even though it's gonna hit 70 degrees today.
Ugh. Yeah. But
so that was the only one that I read from December.
Yeah, wow.
That I felt the need to share. Minus The Stolen Heir, which isn't a romance, but that I think if you've read The Folk of the Air, you should read.
I agree. And same thing with the Truly Devious series. They're not romances because obviously they're like YA mystery, but there's like a slightly frustrating YA romance thrown in there. But then I read like a few of Kerrigan Byrne's Kindle Unlimited titles. Courting Trouble was the first one after that. That one wasn't necessarily my favorite because it was they were like lovers or whatever, and then she had to get married to someone else, and then like it's years later, and then he ends up getting shot because he was going to shoot her, and it was a whole thing, and then she gets
Oh.
shot. So it's like it has good like sex scenes because he's a doctor, and he was like um like he like grew up on their property, but he wasn't like of nobility or anything. So then her parents were bitches. So I knew going into that one probably wasn't going to be like my favorite. But like the writing was very good, so I kept on going. And the next one was Dancing with Danger. Can't tell you much about it just because it was a long time ago that I read it. But my favorite one from the series was Tempting Fate because we got a virgin hero, I believe, and it was seasonally relevant. It had a Christmas epilogue, so I was thriving. It was very cute. There's like two brothers in the series who are like they're like smugglers, and then in one of the books you like meet them and they're like very mysterious, and then like there are two sisters of the sister who like got shot by her like dead husband and then had the whole healing romance. So her sisters, they're all at this like abandoned warehouse and they meet these two like smuggling brother rich men. One's in the shadows and you don't see his face, and then the other one is like the smooth talking one. So then you get the smooth talking book, which is the one that I said I previously forgot. I now remember it all. So you get that book of one of the sisters, I think they're twins, with him, and it was very good. It was like 4 stars. And then you got the book of the one who is always in the shadows because he was thrown into these fighting pits when he was a kid to save his brother because their father was also like a brutal kingpin or whatever. And so he's like his injuries never healed, and so he has a very hard time talking, and like chunks of his face are like missing, and it's a whole thing. So then the deal that they make, they have to like make a deal to like not kill all these people and to like help, and so then they make a deal with the doctor in the first book, and they don't know really what that deal is going to be. Well, it turns out it's going to be to reconstruct his face. Gabriel is his name, because they need to like go into hiding, and so he needs to like look different, but also he just wants to feel less pain, and so the doctor like has to do all this surgery and like make him like feel better. And so that happens, and then there's just the romance of the sister. So she needs a bodyguard because there have been threats on her life, and she's in the process of hiring one, and this man, swarthy, large, handsome, walks up into her like rose garden or something. She like walks into him because he's like very silent, and he was just like looking out for her because he is obviously this man. He looks different now because she never really like got a great look at his face before. And so she thinks he's applying, but he's just obsessed a little bit. And so he's just like gonna make sure that she's okay. But then she's like, "Oh, you're here for the position. That's great. You look pretty menacing. I need you to protect me." And he's like, "You know what? Let's go." So it's like mistaken identity kind of thing, which is always my vibe. And then again, he was a virgin hero because he just had a very hard childhood and life, and didn't think that he could be loved. And so then it was just the sweetest thing ever. And I really loved that book, Tempting Fate by Kerrigan Byrne. And then there were a few other ones after that. And then she still has a few outstanding books in that series that like haven't come out yet. And I'm like, girl, when? And I hope they come out. They were like slated for like last year, and like I don't know what's happening with that, but we shall see. But yeah, that was a great Kindle Unlimited moment for me to really take advantage of that membership. So that happened. So we did that.
It sure did.
We did
Sure
that.
did.
And that's basically my December, as well as marrying off Morgan McBride. That was a lovely book. I still like Kit McBride better, but this one did have explicit sex. So there's that. I was surprised. It was good.
Yeah.
It was very good.
I have that one. I need to read it.
So yeah, that was December. And then I kind of basically talked about because I read a lot of HarperCollins stuff in January. But then I did read The Footman's Club by Valerie Bowman. That was a whole series, and I liked them all. I don't think I gave one of them any of them 5 stars, but they were all pretty good reads. They're just pretty formulaic, but I liked them.
Well, let's see. How am I going to do this? I did read, there was like a nonfiction that was pretty good, but not really relevant to this podcast. Other than that, I've got 2 contemporaries and technically 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. 3, 4, 5 historicals, but Get Thee Off My Lawn, we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to say that I read it.
Yes, we both read that one.
So, coming up. And then also, I listened to both A Lady's Formula for Love and A Perfect Equation, but also, we're going to talk about it. So, we'll save that. It's a fun series. I'm working on the 3rd one that comes out today, if you're listening to it on release
Tuesday.
Day, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Look at us.
So A Love by Design will be out, and hopefully I will have finished it. I should. I've already started it. Other than that, I've got 2 contemporaries. The first one being Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen, which, a standard disclaimer that I work for Forever, which published the book. All opinions are my own. This disclaimer is in our show notes every week, and I'm just going to keep on saying it just in case. Yes. Just in case. Anyway, Lunar Love. I've been telling people like it's one that if you like Emily Henry or other like single POV romances that skew contemporary fiction, like on that kind of side of like women's fiction, but I don't like the term women's fiction. So
yeah,
like if that's your vibe, if you like those kind of romances, I think you'll like Lunar Love because it's single POV. She's definitely the character that gets the most depth, which I think the hero's fleshed out well too. But because you don't get his POV, it's very much her story. And there's a lot of like family relationships and like cultural things about being like a mixed race Chinese American person, etc. But I did love the romance. It feels it's closed door, a lot of like witty banter. You can tell she's like Lauren Kung Jessen is a big like classic rom-com fan because it feels like a good classic rom-com.
There was a great scene when they were at the baseball game.
I think about that scene all the time.
It was so good.
The premise of this book is that she's taking over it was her grandmother's and then her aunt's matchmaking business. That is based on the traditional Chinese zodiac matchmaking. So it's like an in-person, really intense matchmaking business. They sit down, they get to know you. I know, me too. I was like, is this real? Can I, like, please. I don't, the Chinese zodiac, like, astrology is not a thing that I, like, really believe in. But you know what? If somebody wants to matchmake me, let's go. So she's taking that over. And she has, like, a meet cute kind of situation with this cute guy in a bakery. Which, God, I was so hungry this whole book. But the food. Yes. So she kind of like has a cute little meet cute with him. Like, he's cute, but she is a matchmaker who is never going to be matched. She's got all these thoughts about like compatibility and how she can never like be with somebody because she's had all these experiences in the past, blah, blah, blah. And she comes to find out that this guy that she had kind of run into is actually the CEO, whatever person starting an app, Zodiac Cupid, a matchmaking, a dating app based on the Chinese zodiac, but it's taken it and made it very like based on animal attraction and doesn't abide by the rules of compatibility that she believes in, and so on and so forth. So she does this whole like, she is a beta user, so she intentionally sets her profile up to match with him, but he doesn't know who she is and is like trying to get information by going on dates with him, and then they do realize who they are and they like get in a fight about it, and they enter into this bet where like they're gonna try to match each other, and whoever, using their own systems, and whoever falls in love first loses. So most of this book, not most, I would say about half of the book is them setting each other up on dates with other people, but then they go to kind of like spy on and watch the dates, so they end up spending more time with each other on these dates than they do with the person that they're supposed to be on a date with.
As should
one
happen.
of those dates is at a baseball game where she keeps running up to get food or like make him get food for her and like running back and forth to go talk to him. And it's anyway, I've talked for a long time about this book, but I thought it was so charming.
My dream is for someone to go to a baseball game with me and just keep plying me with food. Because
True.
I love baseball concession food. I also love baseball and I don't want to miss the game. So like there are multiple levels to that.
That's fair. Baseball hot dogs, something about it.
They're long.
Something about it.
Oh my god. And like nachos. I mean, I am a slut for nachos. Okay. Like especially with the fake cheese, especially out of a baseball hat, like helmet thing that they sell at the ballparks. Sure. Like good god. I also love it at like a hockey arena. I haven't been to one for ages because of COVID, but when my brother was in high school and stuff, he always played hockey, and the hockey concessions raised me, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah, down here in Texas we don't have a lot of hockey.
That is unfortunate.
I did go to one hockey game that was UT A&M, but it wasn't, they're like I can't remember if it was like intramural or what, because we don't have like an official hockey team.
Okay.
But they're like the UT hockey players, even though it's not like officially our team. Anyway, I went to one hockey game that was UT A&M. It was in like a random ice rink, like convention center thing. And the A&M coach at this hockey game was wearing a cowboy hat. I was like, this is incredible. You don't want a man
too.
I can't remember if it was a suit or if it was, a lot of times you see like a button-down shirt and a blazer with jeans and cowboy boots. Oh, I think that was the outfit with a cowboy hat. I just remember looking out over this sea of hockey players and seeing a man standing there in a blazer and a cowboy hat, and I was like, hell yeah. That's incredible.
I cannot say I've ever seen a cowboy hat at one of the hockey games here.
Wouldn't imagine so. You haven't lived though.
I haven't. I'm from a college town. I didn't go to the college here, but hockey is huge. We have a lot of Canadian hockey players who come here for the whatever. If you know college hockey, our team was in the Frozen Four. All Minnesota teams lose. It's a thing, but we get pretty far, but we always lose. So you can do some investigative journalism and see which town I'm from. But they got somewhere because it's always like the few state schools and like the University of Minnesota and stuff like that. And I went to a lot of college hockey because my friend was a cheerleader for them. So like she always was cheering, and then my other friends, none of us, one other one went to that school. So then we like went with her, and then we'd always like come home and go because I went to a very small school with D3 sports, no hockey, and it was quite an embarrassment in the sports arena. So I do love a good hockey moment. But yeah, but I'm
generally not interested in hockey romances, interestingly. I want to in theory, but they don't tend to be what I want.
Well, the athlete ones never quite work for me just because they're never really in the style that I want. It's always the same kind of like alpha hero who...
And they're like college guys.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Mistletoe Motive, that novella where he plays hockey on the side.
Okay.
So you just randomly get a hockey game scene.
That's one I forgot to mention. Thank you.
I love that novella.
Good God. I love that one so much. Because when we did our Christmas episode, that was still on my list to read. And boy, did I read the shit out of it. It was so good. I love The Hating Game. It is a fun fact about me. I love that book with my entire life. And this novella felt like that. But just in like a different world, which was beautiful for me. And I had a marvelous time.
And if you're like me and have less than no interest in The Hating Game, don't worry. It is still really good. It's just You've Got Mail retelling, but it's set in a bookstore.
And I liked how it was retold. Like, I liked how it functioned there. Because sometimes You Got Mail retellings are just... so is Lunar Love, right?
Yeah, it's like kind of a...
It's not like a retelling, but like it's got the... It's
definitely got like a little nod to You've Got Mail.
I mean...
because I was just thinking like the rom-coms, and I had asked, I like interviewed Lauren Kung Jessen for an author event thing, And I had asked like if there were other like movies and things that inspired it, and she mentioned How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was another one that
Yeah, I
like
could
kind
see
of
that.
heavily influenced it. So if those are your vibe, Lunar Love, and
I love
also
that.
the mistletoe motive, not
Ugh,
the How to Lose a Guy, but You've Got
yeah.
Mail.
I mean, I
Mm.
just and there was like a great sex scene, and he, like you said, he
Mhm.
played hockey on the side, which is truly the hottest thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like I can't. There was also I read what is it? How to Win a Breakup by Farah Heron, I believe. It's loading on Goodreads.
I
One
don't think
second.
I don't
Yep,
think
Farah
so.
Heron. It's a YA one. Um
Oh.
it's from Skyscape. I think that's like the Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. But I read that one in December, and he's a baker who plays hockey on the side. And let me tell you, he was a cinnamon roll. He was so cute. It was very good. Lots of baking, which it's on the cover, so like but good God, was I hungry again. It was like very dramatic. But like YA drama is some of my favorite drama because I'm so far removed from it that
Mm.
like I can just, relax rather than like adult drama, which is like I've lost my job and I have no money, which is like, you know, like you have to deal with that when you're an adult. So like that's a little bit more stressful to me. So the YA thing, I do love it. And it was also she is a gamer, and she met or she like broke up with her boyfriend like a summer before her like senior year, and he like broke up with her, and then he like immediately like left the country. um and so she was not doing well. He kind of like sabotaged her like summer work situation, or like his
Oh.
parents did, because they didn't want to be working together, but then he ended up just yeeting out of there. So then she had to like do community service for her like scholarships in year 12. And so then she like goes to this it's like a shelter, I believe. And she has to kind of be like, I do not know how to bake. It was like for a baking position, and she's like, I don't know how to bake. They're like, it's fine, he'll teach you. And so Daniel is the baker hockey player, love of my life. And she before this has been like chatting with this gamer on whatever gaming platform. I am not a gamer, I know none of the lingo. And then she notices like weird similarities between this
Oh my
Daniel.
God, it's another You've Got Mail.
It's like it
But
shifts
they
a
don't
little
like
bit.
hate each other.
Yeah, because I don't want to give too much away, but
Okay.
the person sent her a picture of what he looks like, and he looks like Daniel, because it was a picture of him. So like she's like, okay, either it's him or I'm being catfished. And she meets Daniel, and she's like, holy shit. And she had to pretend that she was dating him because there was this whole like gossip site, and then they
Right,
were
of
like,
course.
exactly, like her
She
boyfriend was
had
now
to.
her ex-boyfriend was now dating a popular girl. So then like this gossip site was like, ooh, look at her, she's like she's not winning this breakup, aka the title. And so then her friends were like, how about you, since you're talking to this guy, how about you submit a picture of him, and then I'll Photoshop you in. Apparently this person is a Photoshop genius. So her friends submit the picture. She thinks it's like not a great idea, but she goes along with it. And then she has to make it her phone background because obviously that's relationship official. And
Right.
then she goes to this place where she meets him, and then she like drops her phone, and she's worried he like saw his picture on it because it's her background. And she's like, okay, so he is. But then she learns that he has no gaming skills. He is nothing like the person she's been talking to. But he
Oh.
also tells like random facts, like the person in the chat tells her. So she's like, is this him? And then it's a whole thing. I won't say any more, but he's
All right.
again, hockey is the the tie there, and it was very good. I had a very good time. I love Farah's writing, because then I also recently read Jana Goes Wild, which is the adult new release, and again, that was very good. I was in all my feels at all times. That's a forever one. Just I don't know if Caroline's read it, but just so
I'm
you know.
about to. I
Oh,
have the galley for it.
it was very good.
So that's probably gonna be my next one.
The cover is beautiful.
The cover is really good. I'm excited. Because I really liked Camila Knows Best. And this
I have to
is
read that one.
what do you call, like, adjacent? Like, these are characters
Yeah.
you met in Camila, whatever you call, not like a series, strictly speaking,
Mhm.
but, like, interconnected, so
Yeah,
I'm
because
excited.
in the author's note, she said that she took the 2 unlikable characters from Camilla's book,
Yes.
and
Well, because
then
Camila Knows Best is an Emma retelling, like, it's
Oh!
a modern South Asian Emma, so Jana is
I knew that
Jane
somewhere in my brain.
from, and then,
Gotcha.
obviously, Jane Fairfax and Frank Churchill, so
Oh,
there's her, and then there's the Churchill character, and
look at you.
yes.
Look at you
So
go.
Jana is a little, I wouldn't call her, like, unlikable, but she's kind of the antagonist, like,
Yeah, that's and then it's talked about in Jana Goes Wild, like, how, like, her and Camilla, like, didn't
right,
get along and, like, they were
right.
always, like, rivals, like, set up by their
And
parents and stuff.
it's complicated, it's not just, like,
Yeah.
she's an evil
Yeah, and
woman.
there was also a lovely moment in the book where she was like, "I still like, even though I love her, like, I still have to, like, fight with, like, trying to, like, compare myself and, like, still
Mhm.
to even like her," which I was like, "Honestly, that's
Well, so Camila is
relatable."
also, like, she's kind of an unlikable, I mean, she's Emma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Emma Woodhouse is also, like, a very,
Yep.
like, spoiled unlikable, so, and I think she does a really good job of translating that, anyway, my other contemporary, which you have also read, X's and O's, bro. Feral brought me to my knees.
Mm.
I listened to the audiobook also. I had
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
NetGalley arc
Mhm.
for a very long time, and I just didn't read it, and then it came out, and
Mhm.
then there was, like, no wait at my library for the audiobook, so I was like,
Mhm.
snatched.
It was so
Um,
good.
it also, interestingly, is a single POV,
Yeah.
mixed
That's what I
race.
like.
I don't know if she's
I like single POV.
Chinese American or like, she's East Asian,
Mhm.
American. I don't know if it's Chinese or another nationality. But so it's interesting that, like, my 2 5-star contemporary reads of the month so far have been Lunar Love and X's and O's. So, I don't know. Some fun
I
parallels there, and both single POV.
when I tell you, so I read that back in July. Um and I was not, cuz I liked Set on You. It was not my favorite book ever. I liked the writing and I liked the setup because he's also so both heroes are firefighters, which hot, let me say. Dare I say steamy. And so like I liked Set on You. And then I requested the arc from Berkeley, and by some stroke of luck, they like approved it that day. I don't know what they were doing, but I was like, let's go. And so I didn't have like the highest expectations for it. So I like immediately like read that one first, because like I kind of read my arcs in like the order of least to most anticipated on NetGalley, just so I can like build up to things. But little did I know, I was reading one of my favorite books ever, because it was like the cover is everything I want. Like it's so rare when the cover and the book are both exactly perfect, like no notes. Um, I was floored. I didn't know what to do with myself. It was so good,
It
and
was,
it's like,
like,
oh,
I
ugh.
I it's sort of funny because it's one of those that, like, it started, like, it was good, I was enjoying myself, but it wasn't until kinda towards the end,
Mhm.
like, I mean, I can never tell what I'm gonna rate a book until the end, obviously, although
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
I can get, like, a sense, like, if I'm
Yeah.
halfway through a book, I'll be like, "This is probably gonna be 3 stars," and it might go up or down, you know what I mean? So this was
Mhm.
one that I was like, "I could see this being 5 depending on how it comes together," but, like, right now it's kinda sitting at a 4. I was enjoying it. I've listened to it in one night plus a couple hours. Like, I
Gotcha.
listened
Yep.
to most of the audiobook in one night, and then it was getting really late. And I knew the 3rd act was coming. Like, I could
Mhm.
sense that they were I think they had just hooked up. And as soon as the characters have
Yeah.
sex, something is gonna
Yeah.
happen. So they, like, hooked up, and I paused the audiobook, and I was like, "I'm done for the night," because I can't handle, I don't wanna start the 3rd act.
Yeah.
So I paused that, and then the next day, I wrapped up the last, like, hour and a half or whatever it was of the audiobook, but, like, for the most part, it was kinda all in one go.
Mhm.
Um, and I worried about the whole, like, book influencer thing, because that's something that can either be, which it
Yes,
turned
me
out to be,
too.
like, really cute and
I
relatable.
loved it. Yep.
Right, it was really well done. It was like, "Oh, like, this," I mean, I didn't fully understand, sometimes she would be, like, talking to her channel, and I was like, "Is she supposed to be a YouTuber? Is this on TikTok?
I
Like, what's this?"
It sounded like Instagram Live, but I was like, I didn't quite
Yeah,
know what was going on, if she was, like, on
right.
Book Talk too.
So I was, like, a little
Yeah.
bit that was kind of odd, but like not enough to take me out of it.
Yep.
Like, you know? And I also understand you don't want to get too specific about social media platforms.
Which I love.
Because that'll date it, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
In 10 years, our social media will be different.
And I just thought it was like a very attainable kind of situation. Like, it said on You, she's a fitness influencer, which is like so not me and like not really a topic I'm interested in. Like, I've read a few different like fitness books and they're never really my jazz. But like this one, I loved how she didn't really put numbers on anything. She didn't like it was just like a hobby. Like, it wasn't her job. Like, she was a nurse. Like, she had like a full other life. And so I liked how it like influenced her life, but it wasn't like everything. And like there was nothing to really compare yourself to besides maybe not having a hot firefighter roommate, which can't relate.
Devastating.
Yeah. Who organizes her books? Like,
I mean, that would drive me nuts personally because I'm really picky about my organization, but I'm not her.
Tara did not care.
She was relatable in the sense that, like, she's a romance influencer. But, like, there were certain things that I didn't necessarily identify. Like, she doesn't read a ton of new books. She rereads the same ones.
No, I do that, though.
I know you do. But I'm saying, like,
for you.
She's very chaotic. But, like, there were some things that I identified with without it being like, oh my gosh, I'm reading a book about myself. Which can be fun sometimes. It just was not the case with this one. And then, I mean, it was single POV, so I think it does lean a little bit towards fiction rather than, like, strictly romance, but not, like, the romance was still very heavy. It definitely was a romance. It just was, like, because it's single POV tilts.
My favorite contemporaries have all been single POV just because I like the mystery of it. And I don't
That's right, you don't like the male brain.
No, in historicals it's completely different. I don't know what it is, but like in contemporary, I just normally there have been some that I've loved, and like some like YA that like Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute is dual POV, but I really like the mystery when it is like this kind of book because you don't really know what is going on in this man's brain, and I think if I would have known, it wouldn't have hit as hard as it did. So that's just something I personally like, but I know a lot of people prefer the dual, which makes total sense.
I just can't stop thinking about the end of that book. Number one, grand gestures done well. I struggle so much with contemporary grand gestures.
Yes.
Because I think that if they're in public, it's uncomfortable. That's true of historicals too. Any public grand gesture is uncomfortable for me. I don't want them. But also in contemporary, it's a little too real. And I'm like, if somebody did this to me, how would I feel? And everything Trevor does, totally cool with me. Romantic without being over the top. Everything. It's not even like, it's not like crazy steamy, but it's not. Good. You know what I mean?
The tension, like, it was like super slow burn. So like by the time that they finally like banged it out, I was like, level like 100. Like I was like, oh my god, like what is going to happen? And it was great. It was good. Great. There were like Trevor, 2 scenes.
Not even my type, by the way. He's like a tattooed player, which like not the kind of guy that I'm into. But boy, was I into Trevor. But it's because he does that. He takes acts of service to a new level. He's like, I don't believe in a romantic relationship, and then goes out of his way to do the most insane things for Tara. And I'm like, okay, no, that's fine. We could this is gonna not really be a spoiler, but when he pulled up at the dinner, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, which I knew he was gonna do because of course he was gonna do that. You could tell, but like, get out of my face. So there was that. There was the grand gesture that went wrong, and then the not quite a grand gesture, but like confession that like felt very real, where it wasn't really a breakup. Because they came back from it. And just had, like, a very adult conversation.
And that's what I love.
And it was, so like, miscommunication just happens in real life. And we need to talk through it. And it's not going to be a one conversation thing. It's going to be ongoing. And I was like, wow, this is magical. And then they gave us the epilogue. Get out of my face. I'm not even going to say what the epilogue is. But if you've read the epilogue, you know what it is. I'm not joking. I was listening to the audiobook. I was doing my makeup. I was in the bathroom. And he brought her in. And he showed her. And I paused doing my makeup because I was like, get out. Stop it. That's so sweet. And then the next thing happened. And she started looking at the thing. The thing, you know? And I realized what was happening. as she was putting the pieces together, and I'm not joking, I like threw myself against the wall. I like slammed it. I fell to my knees. I was like, no, tell me this isn't what. Stop.
Say it ain't so.
Stop it. And then it was, and I was like in tears on the bathroom floor. That's all. That's just how I want that to happen for me. That's just my dream.
I think it's so impressive because the first time you see him, he's literally fucking a woman in his apartment over a counter because they're roommates and she's just moving in and he is not aware of schedules yet. And so he's just naked, ass out.
Yeah, she just sees this man's dick.
Like double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon. And he's just going at it and she walks in, she's like, holy shit. She hides in the bathroom and he's like, I'm sorry.
And then he like delivers her Cheetos.
Yes.
And Trevor, get out. He's like never what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's not a douchey playboy. He's always like very kind, even though he doesn't do like long-term relationships. Like he's so wonderful to her from the get-go.
He's just a lovely person. And then he's got layers. He's an onion.
He do got layers.
He's got things going on.
Ogres are like onions. Everybody likes parfait. And everybody likes Trevor Metcalf because not even my type, but good lord, the things I would let that man do to me.
And in a hot tub.
Which gross, but like
exactly.
Also it's like a community hot tub, so I was like, y'all, I get it, but like maybe not.
I equated this book when I first read it to All the Boys I Loved Before, but adults. Because same thing with Peter Kavinsky. He's not necessarily my type, but boy, do I love that man. Boy, I guess, whatever. I read it when I was also a child, so like I was rightfully attracted to him as a 16-year-old.
It was not weird.
It was not weird. And so like just with the hot tub and just with like the vibes of like the cutesiness and like Tara just being unashamedly just like extra and in love with love and like all of this stuff, it just felt like a very like grown-up version of To All the Boys. And like that was like such a comfort read, and it still is for me. And so like I just felt like every piece of my life was falling into place reading that book. And it was Natalie Naudus narrated it. Fantastic, superb, excellent narration. Oof. I mean, we've basically given you like a whole episode on this book already, but like if you need me to talk more about it, I will talk so much about it. I love it so much. And the next book is going to be so good. I'm so ready.
What's the next book?
So the entire series is like influencers. So the first one was a fitness influencer. This one was a book influencer. The next one I believe is like a fashion, like lifestyle influencer. And then she like rents this Airbnb. But the guy is there. I don't know if he's also renting it or if it's his place. Like something happened with the scheduling. So they're both stuck at this Airbnb together, and he's like gruff and huge in like a flannel, and she's like trying to get like away from life because she had like a bad breakup, I think, and he was not in her plan, but she's rearranging her life. There's like the little teaser at the end of the arc, so you could go read that if you like. I think you said you have the NetGalley arc.
Yes.
I am ready. Ugh.
Oh, that is delightful to know. Okay.
It's truly delightful. That's honestly the vibe of that entire book, is just delightful. So to get from beyond that, because that was an interlude, what else have I read?
Those were my only contemporaries.
I read
two I have are historical.
Okay, so I read Not Your Valentine by Jackie Lau. It's a novella, obviously, for Valentine's Day. Also, X's and O's ends on Valentine's Day, so like I will be reading that.
That's a like they're coming up on a Valentine's Day gala the whole time. So
and
we'll talk about it during February, knowing us.
I'll be reading that book like every day in February. But I also got Not Your Valentine by Jackie Lau. If it's still read now in NetGalley by the 17th when this launches, go get it. The cover is adorable. It's a Kobo original. So that's cool. I hope they maybe do an audiobook, because obviously they do audiobooks. Just it'll be a short one, but I would still listen to it. So Jackie Lau I discovered with The Stand-Up Groomsman, and I really liked her writing, and I really liked that book a lot. It was both funny, but also like very relatable and also steamy, which Berkeley has been getting a lot better with their steam, or like some of their releases are like a lot steamier, or like have things I just didn't expect. Same thing with like The Nanny that's coming out, and I think April, that book ruined my life in the best way. But so Not Your Valentine, she's basically like everything that I'm not, which is like just fairly against Valentine's Day. Anything shaped like a heart, anything with sprinkles and sparkles and pink, which is just my entire personality on the inside.
Relatable.
And so like normally those kind of characters don't quite work for me, but she was so relatable. She had gotten broken up on Valentine's Day. I think it was like the year before, and it went viral because the boyfriend was like, it's not me, it's you. And that was like recorded. And he was always like the biggest dick in the world. And so then she's like very scarred and traumatized from like not only the breakup, because they were together for like a year, but like also just having it go viral.
Yeah.
And so then she has her friend Taylor. Oh, Taylor. He was there for her on that night. She like got drunk and like passed out on his couch, and he like tucked her in, and it was a whole thing. So then it's been a year. And she's still against Valentine's Day, but her friends and family are just like, you should be dating again. And she's like, I don't want to date, like, so I'm going to invent that I have a fake boyfriend, naturally. And she's like, hey Taylor, can we say that we're dating, because like I like you're a nice person, and I think it would work. And he's like, duh. And so you know how the story goes. And I won't say much more, but he it's not it's interesting in the fact that it's not like she's not taller than him, but he's only like 5'5" and she's still shorter than him. But I know that a lot of people like look for like when the heroine's taller than the hero, because that's something we don't see a lot. But I also think that you don't really see like a 5'5" hero all the time. And he is just the sweetest thing. I think I said that he was a cinnamon roll in the streets and hot cross buns in the sheets. There was like there were like a few quality sex scenes in a cabin, which I adored. And I just thought the third act was very well done, and it was a very quick read, and both funny, relatable, steamy. So I recommend that one for Valentine's Day. And the phenomenon with that one was like I finished it, but I like didn't process that I finished it because I still wanted to be reading it. So like for the last like 10 minutes after finishing it, I was like on my phone, and like every few seconds I'd be like, oh, I have to go finish that book, because I want to like procrastinate when I read. So I go on my phone. But like I just like couldn't process that I was like done with it, and I was so sad. I was like, okay, there's got to be more. And like it felt like very wrapped up. Like there's nothing more that really needed to happen. But personally, I was like so sad that it was over. So that happened to me, and it was very good. But that was also my last contemporary, because I already talked about Janet Goes Wild.
Okay. Other than that,
Yawn break.
What was I?
You got this. Historicals.
Yes, I listened to 2 historical queer novellas. Very different time periods. The first one was an Audible original, so it's only on Audible. By KJ Charles, called A Thief in the Night. And that was MM. And it's like it was really charming and fun. It's dual narrators, and they were both really excellent. It was cute. It was funny. There was there was some heavier kind of emotional topics in there. Because one hero he's just inherited I think he's an Earl. But he was like estranged from his father because he was very into like gambling and everything when he was younger, and his father basically was like, if you leave, don't come back or whatever. And then he like went off and joined the army and made a name for himself and like cleaned up his life and everything. And he was coming back to, I don't remember if like his father I think his father asked him to come back or something like that. He was coming back to reconcile, but his father died before he got there.
Oh.
So he is very upset. Well, and also his father has some kind of it seems like he was a hoarder or something, because there's he was going to try to like spend all this guy's money so he wouldn't have an inheritance, and I guess he succeeded. Well, or so you think. Because he's got this whole estate that is just filled with crap. It's like filled with stuff, and so he's got to come back and deal with this because this is his like inheritance, and he's got to deal with this house. And then the other hero is he's just doing his best. He's not an aristocrat. He's just like doing odd jobs and things to make it by, and a lot of that involves stealing. So
Naturally.
they meet. They don't know who each other are. They meet as strangers in this tavern. And have a quickie outside.
Oh.
And then when the Earl, who he doesn't know is an Earl, nods off, he robs him. He steals his watch, and then he leaves. And then he catches a ride the next day with this other guy who is going to become a valet for the new Earl of whatever. And they make it out to the middle of nowhere. And the guy is so offended at this like decrepit old mansion that he up and leaves. And our hero is like, well, I'm staying here. And he's planning on lying and saying that he's the guy that was coming to be the valet because that guy left.
Mm-hmm.
And who should appear but the man that he hooked up with and then robbed. And he's like, oh shit. Hey, no, I'm here looking for work. I'm looking for work. Could you maybe, what if instead of calling the police on me for robbing you, what if maybe you put in a good word with the Earl and I work for you? And then it is revealed that the man he robbed is the Earl. And he basically is like, yeah, you can stay here and you will work off the debt that you owe me for stealing my watch. Because I really needed that money. And so they start cleaning things out together, and there's this whole like hidden or missing necklace that they're trying to find. There's a heist because of course there is. It's quite charming. I thought it was very sweet. It reminded me of like Cat Sebastian also.
I was gonna say that sounds a lot like
it sounds very Cat Sebastian.
Those vibes.
And it's got like the humor and the eat the rich vibes. So recommend if you have Audible.
I sure do. I will. The amount of audiobook apps and things that I have is like should be outlawed, but it's not. So completely legal. But I will be listening to that. That sounds lovely. The only other one that I have to talk about is also historical, but it's it's in 1910. It's The Davenports by Crystal Marquis, I think. It's a YA historical romance general fiction situation. If you've read American Royals, it's kind of like that. It's not like an alternate reality or anything, but it's like you've got 4 POVs of 4 different young Black women in that time period. One is a maid, one is from like one of like the richest families in the town, one is technically from a rich family, but like he put all of his money into running for mayor, so then they're basically broke. She's got to marry someone. And then good lord, who is the other one? Oh, the sister. So there are 2 sisters. She wants to be a mechanic. And then the other sister, so she's the daughter of the richest family too. So 2 rich daughters. And the thing about this one is that each one is in love with a person that has to like get married to someone else. So like the mechanic sister is in love with the betrothed of her sister. That sister is in love with like another man who is like a political activist. So she's then getting into activism. And then they have a brother, and the daughter of the mayor, her family wants her to marry the brother because he's rich and it would save them. But then the maid is in love with the brother, and the brother is into her. And so then there's a whole thing there. And then the one who has to marry the brother is into the I think he's just another random character. I don't think he was betrothed to anyone else, but he like came maybe I don't think he was betrothed to anyone else. But a lot of things happen. It's very dramatic. I compare it to American Royals because in American Royals, that book just ended with nothing resolved. Everyone was kind of just like apart and torn up. And I didn't think that's what this book was going to do, because I also didn't know that American Royals was like part of not only a duology, but that one was a trilogy, I think. And like no one knew it was going to be a trilogy. And so this one I thought was going to be like a standalone. It's not. You need to read the second one in order to I hope there's only two. Like all the relationships, like it was very interesting, but good lord, I was not prepared for it just to end. Like one of the relationships kind of got like an HEA, but like I'm guaranteeing something's going to happen to them in book 2. But the other ones were all torn asunder, and I was not anticipating that, because I was like, this is like American Royals, but like satisfying, which it was, because it was just more interesting and well written. And like the time period was very interesting. But Lord, was I like, oh my God, I would have waited to read this when the next one was coming out. So it was still very good. But just know that I don't know if I'd recommend like either going into it that you'll probably have to read it twice when the second one comes out, or just maybe waiting to read it until that one. But then again, like I don't know if there's going to be a book 3. Like I don't know what's going to happen. It said it was like part of a series. It was like the Davenport's #1, but like nowhere in the summary did it say that it was like going to leave me hanging. But the narrator was very good. And it comes out at the end of January. So it's almost out. And I love anything that's like YA historical. Because that's just something that you don't see a lot. So whenever I can get into that genre, I dive deep. But that was like the last one that I would recommend, I think, besides Get Thee Off My Lawn.
Yes. Well, my last one was another queer historical. This one was not your standard historical romance, though, because it's not a historical romance. It's a sapphic fantasy noir.
Ooh.
With a romance plotline, essentially, but it's not like they're already in love at the start of the book.
That's
so
always
it's not
fun.
like there is just an established relationship. So the premise of this book, we're in 1941, I think, Chicago, and our main character is a magician who has been expelled from her. It's like a group. I don't remember what it's called. That her brother and I guess her family was in, because she dabbled in some dark magic, because
Naturally.
she sold her soul to the devil in order to bring her brother back from the dead.
Yeah.
Her family was in a car accident. All of them were killed except her. She sold her soul. She could get one in exchange. She got her brother. And because of that, she's been expelled from the order, whatever. And so now she's kind of off on her own. She's a private detective. She does like normal private detective cases, but also she does magical ones. She's like an augur. She can do magical things and is developing spells and things. And so she's been hired to look into this case. It's a serial killer that has been killing people.
It sounds right up my alley.
And she does her little thing to like reveal the crime scene's been scrubbed, but she does her magic to like see where the blood was, and it's everywhere. And also normally you can communicate with souls immediately, like within 3 days after. Like if you go try to talk to them, they'll be there for about 3 days, and she has no luck communicating with this soul. They're not there. So she's like, weird. And also there's blood everywhere. There's weird sigils and things written with it. Something dark has happened here. And she says she's not going to take this case. She's got 3 days left to live because, 3 days left before her soul. Because you get like 10 years from the day.
Gotcha.
And so she knows she's got 3 days left. And she's trying to save up money for her lover, Edith, who she loves very much. But Edith doesn't know that she sold her soul to the devil and is soulless currently and is gonna die in 3 days. She doesn't know that.
Soulless.
Yeah. So she's saving money.
Status.
She's really thinking about taking this case, but then she sees all that and she's like, absolutely not. I'm not taking this case. This is some dark shit. And the person who's hiring her is like, I can give you your soul back.
Oh.
If you track this serial killer down. And so she starts on this investigation. She's trying to find this serial killer. They're magicians, angels, and demons. The other like magical order that her brother is a part of is also involved. It's a whole mystery. There's also some pretty heavy content warnings. It's 1940s Chicago, so there's some heavy like homophobia and like forced institutionalization of like queer people, and also just of women generally. There's like human sacrifices and like possessions. There's a lot going on there. However, it was really good. I will say I did listen to it as an audiobook, yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
And the audio was good, I thought. I will say it has I say because if you're listening to this, you're probably a romance reader. It's a happy ending, but it's like mixed. You know what I mean? Like it's happy, but there's a note of melancholy. Like it's a happy for now. I'll say that.
Okay.
It's not a happy ever after, but it's a positive ending. I just so you are aware going in.
Interesting.
And it's pretty bloody. There's some religious stuff going on. Angels and demons. It was wild. I didn't really know what it was going to be about.
What's it called?
Even Though I Knew the Ending. No, sorry, Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk.
Wow. Did you listen to it like from a library or Audible or?
I listened to it. I had the advanced listener copy from Libro FM from like I think it came out in November. I had downloaded it.
Smart.
But I'm sure it's on like libraries and things. So that was really, really interesting and not your average historical. So I would recommend.
Relationship
and
status,
also like it's a novella, but it manages to tell a pretty complex story and like wrap it all up satisfactorily. Like it didn't feel too short.
We've been reading some good novellas. And I love that because I think a lot of it is like it's hard. Some people say it's hard to like review a novella because it's so short, but I'm like there are some that are like fantastic and they're working with the same page space. So like
Alyssa Cole tends to be, from what I've read of hers. Hers are really good. Courtney Milan has written some really good novellas. I think it just has to be, like, around 13, 14 chapters tends to be. Like, those are the ones that I think are really good. Anything that's, like, 10 chapters, I'm like, that's not enough space.
Yeah, I read one series of like, very short stories. I can't like around Christmas, and I didn't realize that they were like going to be just like a few pages each. It was like the same author, and I was like, what in the world is going on? Some of them were like bonus epilogues from other books, and some were just like very short stories. I actually didn't mind it because like there was like nothing explicit or anything because it was like just a few pages, but I thought they were all pretty charming, and it was very interesting to see how much she could put into just like, you know, like 10 pages, not even maybe for some of them.
Wow.
So I had a good time. Let me go on Goodreads and see what that was called. But I'm currently reading on Kindle. I sent it to you yesterday on Twitter because there's a face sitting scene.
Oh yeah, I downloaded that.
A Day Until Forever by Erin Langston. You can go to the website and subscribe to the newsletter, and then you get the audiobook. It's very good. It's at like an autumn festival. No, that's not what I meant. I don't remember saying that. You can get an advance or just like a free copy of the Kindle book, you know.
Okay, I was like, what audiobook?
I wish it was an audiobook. But it's like perfect for fall, so I'm kind of devastated that it's now deep into winter. But like they're at an autumn festival and he's tasked with being her chaperone because he needs to make a deal with her father, and she's in love with, or like she thinks she's in love with someone else, but it's like very charming and very fun. And I haven't gotten to the face sitting yet, so I've got great plans for after recording. I love the writing. I love the atmosphere of it. It's very fun. And again, it's only like, I don't know, Kindle doesn't really do the page number like when it's like not an official Kindle book, but the location is 1429. If you know what that means.
Very helpful.
Well, because like, you know, like a normal book that I would get as an ARC, like Kindle shows it as like 4,500, you know, as a location, or like 5,000, you know, if it's a little bit longer. So I like judge it based on those numbers. But I find it very, very fun. And then to wrap it up, we'll just again mention Get Thee Off My Lawn. which is
You're really hitting this hard.
which is another novella. This one was just Kindle Unlimited though. You didn't have to sign up for anything. But I did sign up for her newsletter right after because that was very good. And that's our episode on Friday. We're going to record this in like 10 minutes. Not even.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's what we've got for you. That was a lot.
That was a lot. I'm so sorry.
It was a lot of weeks. And, that's just... Oh, fuck me. I also read Anna Maria and the Fox by Liana de la Rosa. And it's an arc, so I won't talk too much about it, but it was very good. If you want big My Wife energy, that's the book for you. The romance didn't really get started until like later in the book because she's like betrothed to someone else and like does not want to emotionally or physically cheat on him. But it's like an arranged marriage, and I could care less if she cheated. Like, go girl, I don't care. But it was very good. I loved the writing. And I haven't read any more by Liana, but her backlist is calling to me with a siren song. So that's in my future, and not officially. Is where I'll stop. Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it. That was
enough
to get you going to your TBR, hopefully.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got. I used up all the words I had.
This is relatable. Then we shall see you on Friday.
Yep.
Bye-bye.